Hey there, what is up, everybody? Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. As always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. It is a Monday evening, January 26th. So if you're hanging out with me on this Monday, welcome to the program. If you're waking up with this on Tuesday, that's great as well. Another loaded show coming your way. And by the way, I had a video go up earlier today alongside Larry Krueger, so be sure to check that out. Niners getting some bad news because the Seattle Seahawks are in the Super Bowl and the 12s are going to take over the San Francisco, Santa Clara Bay Area region. And the Los Angeles Rams also, I think, are steps ahead of the Niners as well. We're going to talk about all of that. Also, a look at the top Niners free agents, and the list this year much different than the list last year. And of note, remember what John Lynch said last week, that because the Niners ate over $100 million in dead cap this year, they're going to have more flexibility for their team building strategy this upcoming offseason. And I expect the Niners to make some splash moves and be in the running to trade maybe for a marquee player or two and make some moves in NFL free agency. Before we get into all of that, the Seahawks are in Super Bowl 60. They took down the Los Angeles Rams at Lumen Field in the NFC Championship game. And that was a battle between two NFC West teams who looked damn good. The last two games between Seattle and the Rams, that was awesome football that we witnessed. The last two games in which the Niners went up against the Seahawks, it wasn't pretty. Kyle Shanahan's offense did not score a single touchdown against Mike Macdonald's defense in the last two games. 8 quarters without a touchdown. And on both sides of the ball, you have Clint Kubiak, who's in his bag right now as a play caller who came up under Kyle Shanahan. I love the play calling and the play designs. He has Sam Darnold playing at a great level. Jackson Smith-Njigba seems to be unstoppable, except when he plays the Niners because Diamador Lenore does a really good job on him. Kenneth Walker looks like the most underrated back in football right now. He has been tremendous over the last month and a half, 2 months. Cooper Kupp is making plays, but the big story with Seattle, their defense is absolutely phenomenal. And I think the Seahawks look like a wagon right now. I think they go into Levi Stadium, and they're going to be staying and in the Niners locker room. And as 4.5-point favorites over the New England Patriots, I think the Seahawks hoist another Lombardi trophy. And so with that, if you absolutely despise the Seattle Seahawks, if you can't stand the thought of the 12s coming to the Bay Area, flying Seahawks flags and representing their Seahawks, get your F Seattle shirts. F Seattle shirts are on sale right now, and these were going like crazy in the lead up to the divisional round game. The link, chatsports.com/F Seattle. You see it at the bottom of your screen there. I'm also going to make that the pinned comment of this edition of the 49ers Report. Now, this is one edition of these F Seattle shirts. You have Sourdough Sam choking out the Seahawks mascot. These were our top sellers among the F Seattle merchandise, but we also have these standard shirts right here. Just the regular F Seattle shirts. So it's chatsports.com/F Seattle. Get your shirts today. I also want to show you these as well because these were being sent to our loyal viewers and subscribers all across the world, all across the country. This is our Dub City collection. You know how anytime the Niners get a victory, Fred Warner always says, Dub City. Well, we turned it into a shirt. And our Dub City collection is available, shirts and hoodies. There's a black hoodie and a red shirt, chatsports.com/Dub City. Again, I'm going to put these links as the pinned comment on today's San Francisco 49ers Report. Get your merchandise. Our design guy, Arnold, has been crushing it all across the company here at Chat Sports, and I have helped him design both of these concepts here, and it's a further way to support the show. Support us here at Chat Sports. Get your Niners 49ers Report gear right now. All right, let me get back on screen here. I'm producing this show all by myself, and let's talk some Niners football here. So 49ers fans, I know you hate the Seattle Seahawks with every fiber of your being. I understand it. It's a very hostile rivalry. And when Pete Carroll was at his peak with Russell Wilson and the Legion of Boom defenses, the Seahawks absolutely owned the Niners. During the start of Kyle Shanahan's tenure, Seattle owned this rivalry. It was one-sided. Then it started to become a rivalry that went in the Niners' favor, starting in about 2021, 2022. Now of late, it has pivoted back to the Seattle side. The Niners won in Seattle week 1, Brock Purdy heroics, 5 for 5 on that game-winning drive. And then in week 18 and in the divisional round, the Niners got smacked around. And both of those losses were pretty embarrassing. Now, context always important. I know San Francisco is very banged up, but you could see the clear talent gap between the Seahawks and the Niners. And while you might hate the Seahawks, get your F Seattle shirts if you do, it is also okay to admit that Seattle is a damn good football team. Some Niner fans out there are absolutely delusional. I tweeted about this, and people were like, Chase, you're a hater. Chase, you're a fraud. Chase, this is clickbait and rage bait. It's clickbait and rage bait to say that a team that is favored by 4.5 points to win the Super Bowl is better than the Niners who are in Cabo, because the Cabo click, by the way, was back and resurfacing over the weekend because Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk, and Trent Taylor were literally in Cabo. Let's give credit where credit is due here. What John Schneider and Mike Macdonald have built is really impressive. And it is not easy for John Schneider to make it to back-to-back Super Bowls, win a ring with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, the Legion of Boom defenses, and then he disassembles the Legion of Boom defense because they fell apart, got older, and banged up. But also, it's not easy to move on from Russell Wilson and trade him away. It's not easy to fire Pete Carroll. He did that. And he did it because he realized we're not good enough as a football team. And what's impressive about what John Schneider did, they bring in Geno Smith, and they were competitive with Geno Smith. But they never had to fully tear it down when they were kind of resetting as an organization, a model that the Niners kind of followed this past year and can continue to follow. But John Schneider also realized Geno Smith ain't good enough. So he traded Geno Smith this offseason after the Seahawks won, double-digit games last year to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders were so bad with Geno, they have the number 1 overall pick, and Geno is not going to be their quarterback any longer. And he also hired Mike Macdonald. So firing Pete Carroll, trading away Russell Wilson, resetting the organization while still remaining competitive, it's hard to do. This past offseason, going into 2025, what did John Schneider do? Traded away DK Metcalf, got rid of and let go of franchise icon Tyler Lockett. They wanted to build a passing game around Jackson Smith-Njigba, who this year led the NFL in receiving yards. He signed Sam Darnold in free agency to a very affordable contract for a high-level quarterback. And over the last few years, he's done what the Niners have not done. He has hit on some marquee draft picks. He has made that defense into a deep, long, athletic, fast, physical, menacing defensive unit. And he hired a star head coach in Mike Macdonald. And now, in year 2 of Mike Macdonald's regime, year 2 of his tenure, the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl. They're 4.5-point favorites, and I don't see how New England and their bad offensive line, with a weak spot at left tackle and rookie Will Campbell, block this Seahawks front. I think Seattle wins this game. I'm intrigued about the matchup, but I don't think there's any doubt that the Seahawks win this game. And I look at both rosters, I look at all position groups, and I say to myself, where is New England better? Not sure he is. So give credit where credit is due, as I said, because what the Seahawks have built, how they've done it, the tough emotional moves that they needed to make, That's why John Schneider is one of the best GMs in sport in the NFL. You talk about Howie Roseman. John Schneider is there. What Howie Roseman has done, it's incredible with the Eagles. He has mastered the cap. He's manipulated the cap. He has fleeced teams in trades. He has been a demon in free agency. Last couple of drafts, he's knocked it out of the park. 21 of 22 players since Nick Sirianni became head coach in 2021 have become starters for the Eagles. It's a great job by Howie Roseman. What he's also done, he's won 2 different Super Bowls with 2 different head coaches and 2 different quarterbacks. John Schneider has an opportunity to do the same. And this Seahawks team that he has an opportunity to win a Super Bowl with, not a single player from that Super Bowl championship team in 2014 is on this team, obviously, any longer. So he has remade this roster. And when the Seahawks and the Niners played the last 2 games of the season, you saw how much of a talent gap there was. So even if the Niners had Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, George Kittle, and Mykel Williams, I still don't think they go into Seattle and win that game yesterday. Why? Because it wouldn't have changed the fact that the Niners would have gotten manhandled up front with their offensive line going up against that Seahawks defensive line. The Niners still, even with all those additions, would not have had the team speed on offense to threaten the Seahawks in particular in the pass game. And that's helped to lead Mike Macdonald owning Kyle Shanahan. The Niners still wouldn't have been able to run the football. And that Seahawks team from week 1 to now is a completely different team. They remade their roster during the offseason. They were either at the top of free agency spending or the top 3. So that team from week 1 was brand new compared to the team that we now see. A team that is absolutely rolling and looks like a damn wagon. So what the Niners did this year, it is highly impressive. What the Seahawks have built is what the Niners should now strive toward dethroning. Because the Seahawks are in the Niners' way, and I don't see Seattle going anywhere. And if the Niners mess around and they're not careful and they don't hit in the draft and in free agency, the Seahawks could continue to run the NFC West here for the foreseeable future and maybe run the NFC. Now, the Niners are not far off, but they need to make the necessary moves this offseason to catch up to Seattle and catch up to the Los Angeles Rams, because the Niners right now are also not close to the Los Angeles Rams, as we saw during their last meeting. I think the Seahawks are probably going to go out and win the Super Bowl. There are going to be 12 flags waving all across the Bay Area. It is going to be bitter to see Seattle win a Super Bowl potentially at the Niners Stadium and do it in the Niners locker room, where they are going to, if they win, be lighting cigars, popping champagne. 2025 was never the Niners' year, but now they have to use the 2026 offseason to close the gap between them and the Seahawks. They need to get better along the offensive line. They need to get more physical along the offensive line. They need to get faster and more explosive at the wide receiver position and as an offense, because right now they're one of, if not the oldest offenses in the NFL. And this Seahawks defense, they are loaded. And in the last 2 games, again, Kyle Shanahan's offense in 8 quarters could not score a touchdown. And I don't think they made it to the red zone more than 1 time. On defense, when you do get back the likes of Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Mykel Williams, it's going to make you better. But I think you need to upgrade at corner. You need linebackers alongside Fred Warner, and you need to figure out the safety position. So I know Niner fans don't like to hear this, but if you watch this show, I'm not going to wear knee pads and just glaze the Niners at all times and hold their jockstrap. I will compliment them when they deserve it. I will criticize them when it's justified. I want the Niners to win a Super Bowl. But the fact of the matter is, the Niners have not won a Super Bowl in 31 years. They're not a perfect organization. And this offseason, they need to hack away at the gap between them and the Seahawks, because this Seattle team, they're looking like a juggernaut. Coming up next, a look at the Niners free agents. Stay tuned for that. Real quick, let's get to our sponsor. The big game is almost here. New England, Seattle, rematch of that 2015 epic Super Bowl, which came down to the wire. There is no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than with Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next year. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly on lineups when you play your first $5. You can find your community on Prize Picks with the new social feeds feature. You can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. Join the millions of users. Sign up today for America's #1 sports pick app. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. So the 49ers, last offseason, look at the list of free agents and players who they lost, which is another reason why it's impressive what they accomplished this year on top of the injuries, winning 12 games in the regular season and a playoff game while eating over $100 million in dead cap, bringing in a new defensive coordinator, having to play all these young players. Aaron Banks, and this is also a sign that the Niners players were coveted by other teams in free agency. So they built a pretty damn good club, and I think that 2023 Niners team, unfortunately for San Francisco, is going to go down as one of the most talented teams to never win a Super Bowl. But Aaron Banks got a 4-year, $77 million contract from the Green Bay Packers. Charvarius Ward got 3 years and $54 million from the Colts. Javon Hargrave became an important piece for Minnesota. He was let go by the Niners. He got a 2-year, $30 million contract. Talanoa Hufanga, an all-pro, became the starter for the Super Bowl contending Denver Broncos. Got a 3-year, $39 million contract. Dre Greenlaw, 3 years, $31.5 million. Leonard Floyd went to the Falcons for 1 year, $10 million. Malik Collins, big steal of the offseason for Cleveland, 2 years, $20 million. Jalen Moore, a backup left tackle who filled in nicely for Trent Williams last year, 2 years, $30 million. The Niners lost all those players. Those players were big contributors for San Francisco. And isn't this sad? I can't believe this. The Niners' top free agent addition last offseason was Luke Farrell, who signed a 3-year, $15.75 million deal. That effort that he had on the Brock Purdy pick against Seattle 2 Saturdays ago, abysmal, a joke, disgusting. And that was the biggest acquisition. So now, as we pivot ahead to this upcoming offseason, the Niners free agency pool, not nearly as deep. The money that they have, going to lead to more flexibility for the organization. So Juwan Jennings, a free agent. He signed a 2-year, $11.9 million deal in 2024. That could be worth up to $15.4 million. And the last 2 years, 2024, 2025, the best 2 years of his career. Last year, 77 grabs, 975 yards and 6 touchdowns. This year, 55 catches for 643 yards and 9 touchdowns, but also was pretty banged up. And he only earned $23.75 million throughout the first 6 years of his career. I know that's a lot of money to the normal person, but at the NFL level, for a player of that caliber, it's not that much money because his new contract, I legitimately think, he can get $17 to $20 million per season. And if it's closer to 20 per year, got to let him go. Because you need to get faster at wide receiver. Thank him for what he's done. He was very emotional during locker room cleanout day. It seemed as though he felt as though and knew his Niners career was over. I know John Lynch said, man, we'd love to bring him back, but the price tag is very important for a player like that, who's also a little older. Spencer Burford started his career at right guard, making 29 starts in 30 games over his first 2 seasons. He was the backup for all of 2024 and 2023. He missed the block on Chris Jones, of course. Got confused with that assignment. He could honestly get some decent coin on the open market because a team will pay an offensive lineman with potential. So I don't think the Niners should re-sign him, nor do I think they should. Yetur Gross-Matos signed a 2-year, $18 million deal, with the Niners in free agency going into 2024. Good player when healthy, when playing defensive end and defensive tackle, but always hurt. Got to let him go. Eddie Piñeiro, got to bring him back. 28 of 29 in field goals this year, 96.3%. He's now at a career 89.7% field goal rate. Kyle Shanahan publicly said the Niners would love to have him back. He helped to save the season, and he helped the Niners make up for the awful pick of Jake Moody. Jake Tonches is a restricted free agent, so I don't think the Niners will have a problem bringing him back because they can match any contract that a team were to offer him. Not a good run blocker, but quality depth and talent in the pass game. He's big, good hands, moves well, and he's only going to be 27. A good developmental story for San Francisco. What the Niners do need to do, I'd bring him back. You'll have Luke Farrell if you want, but I think you need to upgrade over Luke Farrell. Just an awful signing by the Niners. But George Kittle is going to miss the first couple months of the year. You need a pass catching and blocking tight end to help out this offense, and you need it pretty badly. So that does it for today's show. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Brought you a lot here on the program. Thank you so much for supporting everything that we do. Do not forget to give me a follow on X, Instagram, TikTok at Chase_Senior. My name is Chase Senior. We will be hopefully back in the studio tomorrow because this snowstorm just wiped out a large portion of the country, including this area here. So if I'm not back in the studio, I'll be back here at the crib bringing you some Niners content as we do all the time. Next week, going to be in Santa Clara, San Francisco for Super Bowl 60. Going to bring you excellent Niners coverage from the Bay Area as well, so be on the lookout for that. And we'll catch you soon. Peace.